Somebody got a notification.
Yep. Well, it looks like we're live on Twitter.
I say this every time, and for the 167th some odd show, I'm saying it again. I hope we're live.
167 times. Well, I wonder, I mean, what, when we get to 360, are we going to quit? Are we going to call calf rope? What's the magic number we're going to get to? We're going to say, Uncle.
I I don't know. I mean, 999, but that'd be a long time out.
Oh, good grief. I don't know
Yeah,
how many years
we'll
that'll
both
be.
be old men. We'll be coming in here with our walkers trying to do the show. Oh, we are live. Okay. So that's a good thing. We're live on Facebook on Bossier Watch. And let me double check while we're sitting here chatting for just a minute because I had us set to also go live on Bossier Term Limits. Lo and behold, it's working. So I'm going to double check that. Yep, we have audio. So we should be live on, let me get rid of that, on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook on Bossier Watch, and Facebook on Bossier Term Limits for tonight. Now, we have 15 people watching too. Let's see.
Yeah, some folks are coming in. So, hey, real quick, and we'll do our countdown to give a little bit more time for people to share and also to come in and see the notification because we did things a little different than tonight. We don't ever do a Monday night show, and
Right.
yeah, there's that, and then the like you were saying, the scheduling thing. You know, you normally there's this automatic deal and a tech deal, but and it didn't go the way it is, so we're manually doing things. But hey, um, why are we doing this show tonight?
Well, there is a city council meeting tomorrow that is pretty important. We've got a couple of things, or they have a couple of things on their agenda, and we thought it would be better to do a special edition show and talk about those things. And also to ask people, hello, Thomas Shea, Mike Cummings, all the line saying hi on the comments, but to ask people if they possibly can to show up at that meeting tomorrow and have lots of butts and seats.
And the why and exactly what is the council doing tomorrow because it may not be what you think. So I say that we go do our countdown, give a little time, ask folks to share, maybe phone your friend, text them, call them, tell them, hey, those two guys are on there fixing to talk stuff about Bossier City. And if you care about your government and you care about having good government, maybe you want to listen to them, hear what they have to say.
Yeah,
They may enlighten you a little bit.
maybe so. And of course, folks are welcome to just scroll on by and tune us out also, but we hope not.
There is that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. We got about 26 people watching, folks. Y'all know the drill. We're going to hit the countdown on our little intro deal. Take about 3 minutes. That gives you time to go get something to drink, pop some popcorn real quick, and share this out, tag, and let folks know we're online on both Bossier Watch and Bossier Term Limits on Facebook and then, of course, on YouTube too. We'll be right back.
Knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 6, 6:30.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is...
Raymond Croon's legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way, it was not David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't gonna jump off in there with Chris. He ain't gonna do it. He'd soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups and all, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Transact Card. Unleash the power of your spending with Z-Bucks. Contact Renee Hall. Smarter Geek. Making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And here we are.
Here we are. So looks like there's about 50 people watching the show across the platforms.
Bad for a Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night. Hardly no notice. We got a little bit of notice out there, but hardly no notice. Hey, glad y'all are all here. Shout out in the comments. Let us know. And if you are interested in Bossier City politics, that's going to be the subject tonight, right?
Pretty much, and we've got just a few notes, but for the most part, we're going to kind of be winging it, so to speak. So, we want to remind everybody, September the 12th, we have the Senate district, or the district Senate race, whatever. Anyway, we're going to have a debate between Robert Mills and Adam Bass, so we want to make sure and invite everybody to join us live for that, so that'll be lots of fun. And we've got some interesting guests lined up probably in the next couple of weeks as well.
Well, we have another debate in the hopper. Just so you know, Rex, on September the 21st, we've got another debate.
Oh, we do. Maybe that's news to me, or did I just not pay attention?
You may have forgot, but just so folks know, both Dodie Horton and Chris Turner have agreed to a debate for the House District 9 race.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, let me add this to our little topics here. Let's see. And then we'll get started. Let me do... no. Well, you ever have one of those days where...
Yeah, it's been one of those days. I mean, did that a T-post strikes you in the back of the head and then you're foggy for a week? Yeah, I've had it. I've had one of those weeks.
So, did you end up having to get stitches or just...
Well, I was a conscientious objector of going to the emergency room. Probably could have used stitches, but hey, you know what? who cares? I mean, I'm not entering no beauty contest. So,
All right. Right off the bat, we've got some comments going here. So, Love Shreveport Bossier says, "Are y'all having any luck with the new BCPD PIO?" Well, I have to say, Wade, I haven't really had any interactions yet.
yeah, I mean, we kind of gave up on getting a lot of information out of PIOs or Bossier City, for that matter. I mean, we don't get our information from those guys, so couldn't tell you.
Well, he says Weston are talking in the comments, talking to Weston Marriott says, unfortunately, he hasn't responded to any of our text, calls, or emails since he became PIO. Well, maybe when, Tommy's minions are watching the show, they'll see this commentary and maybe step up the game and get you a response.
Yeah, so Rex, I let's jump right off into it and get going. I mean, we're not. This isn't going to be a long, drawn out show. We're going to kind of lay out what the lay of the land is, and we want to explain a few things to folks so that they understand exactly what's going on. So I had somebody call me, Rex, and they said, "Hey," they said, you know, and I even saw one of our posts, one of Bossier Watch posts, that the council's calling a charter commission.
Right.
That's good news for the Bossier Term Limits Coalition. Well,
Well,
not
that
so
depends, yeah.
not so fast, Dano. And a lot of people, they're like, that's good. We're going to get a charter commission. No, hang on a minute. Not exactly. So, but before we get to that, I think we got to back up just a hair and, we got to talk about the AG opinion or the lack thereof on the AG
Right.
opinion.
Yeah, so let's explain to everybody, and of course, I am woefully ill prepared tonight. But let's explain to everybody just what the AG opinion was or was not. Basically, the AG's office said they couldn't issue an opinion because there was a conflict because they are the attorney of record or whatever it's called for the registrar of voters, which obviously would include Bossier Parish as well as I guess the rest of the parishes. So that kind of puts the AG's office in a pickle giving an AG opinion.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is should there be litigation, at any point over the actions of a registrar of voters, the AG's office would be responsible for defending the registrar of voters, regardless of what parish it is,
Right.
all across the state of Louisiana. So, I, I think in the term limits coalition, we all thought collectively that what, hey, that makes sense. I mean, that kind of actually wasn't. We all had hoped that the AG's office would put an opinion out and answer the question, but they said, hey, you know what, we have a client. It wouldn't be appropriate for us. It was the right call. Now, some people would say, Rex, that there's another reason they didn't put an opinion out.
Oh, sources say, or as
No, I'm
as
just
Dalton said in Roadhouse, opinions vary.
opinions vary. Yeah, well, some people would say, "Oh, hey, it's Jeff Landry. He doesn't want to hurt his electoral chances or blah 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 blah." I don't think so. I mean, look, I know Jeff. He hasn't never cared about who he got in the middle of. He doesn't care. I mean,
No, he doesn't. He got all up in the middle of Bossier Parish stuff right in the middle of the Cypress District and is continuing to push that. So I would tend to say that that's probably not the reason.
But here's the thing. When or if, this whole issue regarding term limits and the citizens petition in Bossier does go to court, guess what? The AG's office will be there. They will be there. So if you're going to take on the deal, you're taking on the AG's office.
Well, and let's go ahead and maybe just give a real brief summary of the brief that the Bossier Term Limits Coalition submitted to the AG's office. Now, we did post all that information on Bossier Term Limits and Bossier Watch and all that, so it's all out there for everybody to read. We're not going to go through the minutia of it, but Duke, do you want to just summarize what the basic stance of the Bossier Term Limits Coalition is?
Yeah, so pretty much here's the long and skinny of it, and it's not using all the big fancy words that all the brilliant minds use. We're going to bring it down to earth here, and I'm sure Mark Smith will chime in here in just a minute. But the thing is the city and Charles Jacobs and all, they hung their hat on one specific item, and that is the fact that in statute it says that the year of birth has to be included on, and my understanding is they said on any petition. Well, that's not accurate. It's not required on every petition that's done in the state of Louisiana. That's not true. In fact, in Bossier Parish, there have been two petitions, one in, I think it was either 2018 and 19 or 2019 and 2020. You had Glenn Benton's police jury district out there petitioned to have the sale of high alcohol content liquor out there in that district. They petitioned, they got the signatures. It was submitted. It was put on the ballot. I mean, it was certified by Stephanie Agee. It was certified, put on the ballot, and the people voted for it. Well, not to be outdone, the following year, the town of Houghton did the same petition. Guess what? No year of birth was listed on the petition. And, they got the signatures. They put it on the ballot. People voted for it. Voila. But fast forward to Bossier City now, and hold up. You got to have a year of birth on this thing. Because, and Charles Jacobs, and I'm going to start off in this order, Vince Maggio, Jeff Free, Jeff Darby, Bubba Williams, and David Montgomery, they can't understand what the people want and what they're petitioning for because it doesn't have a year of birth. They have no idea. They can't read it. They can't decipher it. They don't understand it.
I don't know if I want to we got to come up with a new name instead of Zamboni Jacobs. Maybe it's Stonewall Jacobs.
Stonewall Jacobs. Well, I'm thinking that he probably would like that.
He probably would. He's doing a good job of it, but you're exactly right. I mean, the whole thing is a farce on their end because one, we know. I'm just going to go down the list real quick. We know that Vince Maggio can't have his cake and eat it too. He was definitely not for term limits. He didn't sign the petition. He didn't sign it initially. He didn't sign it afterwards. But then, he's got to put out a social media post, or his people did, or whoever it was, saying that he's for term limits once the heat turned up. But his votes on the city council show that he really is not for term limits, so he is firmly in the stonewalling camp. Free and the rest of them, and of course David Montgomery and all that, we know that they're not for term limits, at least not as this petition was written and, is apparently going to have to go to the ballot because they'll be the first ones out because they're not grandfathered in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, they're sitting here. They couldn't get the AG to get on board with them. Couldn't get the AG to get on board with them to beat this thing down. But all the while, you've got a city charter that says that you've got a timeline for action on a petition that's submitted by the people. So their second contention was that it didn't say it's an ordinance. Or it didn't say that, but
right. They're trying to debate, that it's asked in question form on the petition, which is what is required by law, versus it's not in statement form as an ordinance, I guess is the simplest way to put it. And so they're trying to use that to stonewall also. It's like they're trying every possible way to stonewall this.
Well, there's two questions. One, they want to say, oh, statute says it has to have a year of birth, but city charter says it has to be in the form of an ordinance, but yet statute says it has to be a question. So, talking about having their cake and eating it too, they're wanting to have it both ways on both issues. But their outside high dollar opinion that has no connection to Bossier City except representing people in the Link Coleman lawsuit a number of years ago where they got their teeth kicked in. You know, they don't want to recognize statute in the second case. They want to recognize statute in the first, but they don't want to recognize. But take a step back, and let's just all assume for a second, that year of birth has to be included in the petition, right? And what could conceivably be the purpose to have every person who signs that document? What could conceivably be the purpose of having the year of birth on the document? What possible reason could you want to have that? What was the legislature's intent in wanting to have that there?
That's an interesting question. It couldn't be to have something unique because the, year of birth or whatever would not be unique to every individual, obviously. So it couldn't be that. I mean, that would be the voter ID number or registration number, I guess, would be the unique deal. So what could possibly be the reason they wanted year of birth?
Well, I'm thinking it is to help the registrar of voters be able to determine the person and the intent of the person. Positively identify who the person is, and what their intent is, and make sure that it is a real person and that it, you know. But you use some interesting words right there. You said unique. Year of birth isn't unique to every person, but voter ID is unique. And why is it unique, Rex?
Well, in any database, you have to have an ID or an identifier, and it has to be unique to each entry in a database. So the same thing, the voter rolls or, whatever, are nothing more than a database of information. Think of it this way. In a phone book, you have, in the old days when we had printed phone books, you may have multiple John Smiths. Well, how would you know that those are not the same John Smith? One is by address, but maybe John Smith owns more than one house. But a phone number, for instance, would be pretty unique to that individual. So think of it sort of in simple terms like that. It's something that says, you're you and I'm me. Kind of like a social security number, except they don't want to use social security numbers for the voter.
Correct. Christopher Norris says, y'all are not live on YouTube. He said, I've been on YouTube waiting on you to go live over here. Thanks for that notification, Chris. Sorry about that. Again, it's not our normal night of going live, but
we are live on YouTube. I'm watching it on my phone right now. So, Christopher Norris, if you will go to the Bossier Watch channel on YouTube, we are not live on Bossier term limits, but if you go to the Bossier Watch channel on YouTube, we are live because I'm actually watching us on my phone right there.
Gotcha. So Rex, here's the thing. So voter ID. Let's talk about voter ID. And if any of y'all have, the Go Vote app on your phone, I would encourage you right now to take the Go Vote app, open it up right now, and here's what I want you to do. Press the What's on My Ballot. I want you to put M. Lowry, Lowrie, that's me. And then you've got to put zip code 71006, that's my zip code. And then you have to put, guess what? Birth month and year, Rex. And then
The
when you
month
do
and
that,
year.
and then when you do that, I'm walking everybody through this. And then when you do that, and let me see here, 1970, that'll tell you guys how old I am. And voila, you put all that information in, and guess what? It spits out your voter ID number, which tells you ward, precinct, all of the above. Ward 222A1, voter ID number 721-357, registration date 9/6/1988.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, it puts all of your information there. So I'm just wondering, when it goes to court, or if it goes to court, and a registrar of voter is asked on a petition where there is a voter registration ID number, when she's asked, can you tell the year of birth looking at this petition? What would be the answer?
Well, all they have to do is pull up the voter ID number or registration number, and they can pull up all the information, the unique information.
That is exactly right. So our petition, while we're not conceding that it required year of birth, it did include, for every voter, it included voter ID number, which is better. It's better than having just the year of birth.
Yeah, it is. It gives a much, much more, well, it gives a unique, that would be kind of silly to say it that way. It gives a unique identifier rather than the year of birth. Because as we said, I was born in 71, you're born in 70, but, arguably two people could be born in the same year. That would obviously be a lot of overlap in many cases. It's not unique.
Jeff Sadow, he's
Yeah, I'll put that one back up there.
he's throwing a haymaker.
Well, he does probably have. Well, let's see. No, you're right. He does not have a unique address. You're absolutely right, Jeff Sadow. Our good friend Ryan Haygood says the bottom line is they're looking for red herrings so they can ignore the law. You are absolutely correct, Ryan. And there's Colonel Crockett. He says, laugh out loud, Butch Ford doesn't have a girlfriend or a dog at the wooded, evacuated, dilapidated address. Now, Colonel Crockett, maybe
Wow.
he's in the process of remodeling.
Who knew he was a comedian? So, the, anyway, so Jacobs and the we're gonna have to think of a name for the five. Vince Maggio, Jeff Free, Darby, Williams, and Montgomery. The whatever the five are, we got to think of a name for it. So they
Home
wanted,
ballers.
yeah, they wanted the AG's office to say whether year of birth, because they feel confident that because statute says that it's mandatory, it shall have year of birth on the petition, in which we think it did. We think it did. And, they're saying, well, they can't understand it. They can't read it. They can't determine or whatever. But, obviously the registrar of voters, she could understand it. And
Yeah, she certified it just like she's done many other times for different petitions, so not a
in,
problem.
in accordance with the charter that was provided to them, they have a timeline to act. So they're flailing around looking for every way. It's like, they're in that paper bag trying to fight to get out of that paper bag, and they're running out of air in there, and they can't find the way to get out of that paper bag.
So that brings us to, well, kind of segueing into tomorrow's meeting and the purpose of tonight's show, right?
That's right. And somebody said, hey, they said, great news. They said they're calling for a charter commission, and since the petition wasn't right, they're just gonna put the term limits in the call for the city charter.
Yeah, but that might not just be the best thing in the world, right?
That's exactly right. So a couple of points here to talk about the city charter. And before we completely move on to that and call in a charter commission, I want to pour it out, and I want to make do a hat tip to Colonel David Crockett, because Colonel David Crockett over you know over the course of many days drafted the brief that was submitted to the AG's office on the issue, and he did a magnificent job. I mean, he and I talked a little bit about it. I gave him a few ideas, and he put it into words, and he did a wonderful job. So hat tip to Colonel Crockett, folks. Y'all need to know how hard that guy works, and he deserves some respect for it. His
Well,
heart's in it.
and also he comments that we did our petition in the form that the registrar asked, and all signatures matched for 2,975 voters.
That's correct, and folks should keep in mind, and Colonel Crockett's right. I mean, that was how many certified voters there were, but y'all need to keep in mind we had in excess of 3,300 signatures total, and a lot of people. There's some people that their voter registration has went inactive. They were actually citizens. They're citizens of Bossier, but they're voter for different reasons. They weren't able to be identified. You
Right.
know, and had we spent more time, we could have gotten a whole lot more signatures. It isn't like there's not a groundswell of support for this thing. So
Well, yeah, probably with more boots on the ground and more time and more effort than you and the Colonel and Ryan Haygood and a few others spent, we could have certainly probably doubled that easily.
yeah, and the thing is you're. I mean, look, how do you say this? Your Bossier City government is basically, and I'm just going to say it this way, and this is by their actions, they've become lawless. One would
They have.
contend that they've always been lawless, but they're forced now out in the open for everyone to see that they are, basically being lawless. And you say, well, how can you say that, Duke? Well, I'm going to circle all the way back to Walter O. Bigby Carriageway and the Shed Road crossing. Can anybody tell me exactly whose fault Shed Road is being shut down for the railroad? Can any
Hmm.
did any of your councilmen root out that question? Did they hold anybody accountable for mistakes? They tried to put blame off of somebody else, but when their lawyers showed up in the audience, they changed their tune out there. They didn't do it, but still to this day you don't know. I
Right.
mean, we've pointed out some questions regarding Manchac. You know, people have knowledge of what took place. Has anybody in city government down there done anything? Nope,
Not a thing.
not
Not
a
a thing.
thing. And fast forward to here, and the clock's ticking. I mean, the timeline for casting a vote on a petition submitted to them, whether they agree with it or whether they don't, it's passed for them to cast a vote up or down on it. That
Right.
that timeline's passed.
That they've literally violated the city charter, then using the excuse and the red herrings flopping around everywhere as they stonewall the petition. See how I threw all those words in there? They've literally been violating the city charter and thus the law already.
Yeah. So if you're them, why should you not think? And it pains me to know that Vince Maggio's thrown in on this, but he's thrown in on it.
Sure. Well,
He's
don't worry about it, Duke. They'll be deciding on the mayors in his store for from time immemorial now.
well. I mean that. I don't even know which way to go here. I just
I don't really either.
it disgusts me, and and I heard somebody say, "Well, you don't even live in the city. Why do you care?" I'm like, "Well, you know what? I was born in this city in
Don't
1970. I've lived here around Bossier my whole life. My business is in Bossier City. I worked in Bossier City for over 20 years. I literally bled for Bossier City. I've took needle sticks, twisted, blew out my knee on a house fire. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It just goes without saying that you have a vested interest in Bossier City, just like the rest of us do. Look, Colonel Crockett, he's fully disclosed at, many of the meetings and all that. He doesn't, and correct me if I'm wrong, Colonel Crockett, but he doesn't technically live in Bossier City. He lives in the parish, but like you, he's got a vested interest in the city of Bossier. So, uh, I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there right and left just to kind of take jabs at them, but let's get to the meeting
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah. So back to some folks say, hey, well, they're going to call a charter review commission, and because the petition, well, no, the petition's not flawed. The petition is exactly the way the petition needed to be, and they say, well, you didn't put it in the form of an ordinance. Well, that's BS. It's their responsibility to form it up, and even Katie Bell acknowledges that they can, you know, fix the wording however they need to. They can't change the proposition that's put before the people, but if they need to, for their procedural, change the words a little bit for whether how it's said, they can do that. She even said it in her thing. The year of birth
Right.
thing, we contend it's there. So, but that's not the point. The point is they want to defeat this. They want to, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, they want to kill it. I would want to point out to folks, do y'all know when the last time, you know, these guys, most of them, I think with maybe the exception of Maggio and Free, he might not have made 20 years yet. He's probably under 20, but the rest of them have all been over 20 years. Do you know when the last time there was a charter commission?
It's been a while. Was that, I don't even know, and I should know that. When was the last time?
I'm pretty confident it was like 2001, 20 or 2000. Yeah, 2001, I think.
Yeah.
So,
So, all
uh,
right, what's the problem with a charter commission, though?
well, the problem is here's what happens. There's twofold. If you think it's a good idea to have a charter commission to get these term limits in there, and here's what they're going to tell you. They're going to say, "Hey, we're going to put your term limits in the charter commission, and we're going to get the people to vote on it. So you're going to get your opportunity."
Oh, well, that should be wonderful, except,
Sounds great, right?
yeah, but,
But, but what they don't tell you, and I've got it on. Oh, you've already got it up. Well, no, I've got it up. I've got the resolution for the charter commission.
okay,
But what they don't tell you is that every councilman picks a charter commission member, and every and the mayor picks two charter commission members. But those charter commission members, guess what? Have to all be approved by a simple majority of the council. So let's
hmm,
let's play hypothetical. Even if, let's say, the mayor, who gets two picks, and
mm-hmm.
Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds all pick, four people who are pro term limits. I mean, do you think that the other five, the Stonewall Five, you think they're going to pick somebody that's pro term limits, or do you think they're going to be term? That's the
Why?
first question.
Why, of course
No,
not. They'll probably have Ryan Gaddy on the thing because he's oddly wishy-washy on term limits, just like Maggio.
that's right. So here's the other question: the two that the mayor has, and the one that Chris Smith, and the one that Brian Hammonds gets to pick. Guess what? You got five councilmen that have to approve their picks. Well, they're not going to approve their picks. Just like, give you an
Well,
example, case in point, Shane Cheatham for CAO. you think King David and Bubba Williams and all them are going to vote for Shane? And if he were to be appointed, no, they're not.
No. Well, and look, even best case scenario. So let's say that Queen David does appoint somebody that, let's say, appoints Ryan Gaddy, who's wishy-washy at best on term limits. And maybe we'll have him on a future show and he can explain his position. But let's say, even best case scenario, they're going to try to come up with the ordinance which grandfathers them in.
But no.
No.
They don't have to, Rex.
Oh. And
They
why would
don't.
they? Why
They
not, Duke?
well, but before we get to that, I want to tell you what there's two other things. There's another thing. There's that, and there's another thing that they're going to do. You know how in what's that movie? You get the red pill or the blue pill?
Right, the Matrix.
Yeah, the Matrix, Morpheus. You get your choice. You can live in La La Land and you can take the blue pill, or you can take the red pill, and you're gonna wake up and see the world for what it really is.
Right.
Your choice. Well, here's the deal. They're gonna put the pill in the charter commission because Darby called
Really?
for this charter commission. He's playing the old card, and it's what they did before, but they're going to put something in the charter commission that's unpalatable to the public so that you won't support it.
That would be a poison pill.
Like, for instance, let me give you all an example. They may just amend the charter to where the people, now that they know can petition and can get the signatures, they may take that right away from you and codify it in the charter. They may even say, hey, you know what? You can't come even speak at the well, they couldn't. Well, they try it.
They try. Here's what they could do. They could allocate by ordinance $300,000 a year and really build up that Walter Bo Bigby statue that we all think is a waste of money.
I think they should, in the charter and all of the Stonewall Five, they should rename the city to, the city of In Manchac We Trust.
Yeah, they should just
That's
go ahead and start minting our own, coinage and all that for Bossier City and just put it on there. So I want
but
to hold on for just a second. So Ryan Haygood says, Ryan, talking about Gaddy, got more capital outlay money than every other legislator combined. We're not on that subject tonight, Haygood. We're on the subject of the term limits, and Gaddy, at best, and he and I have talked about this, has been wishy-washy on term limits. It's in writing on his Facebook page, so he'll have to come on and answer for that. All right, sorry, Duke.
yeah, so and David Crockett makes a good post. David Crockett says any charter commission has to be approved by the vote of the people. We can fight any nefarious intent of the
Lilliputians.
what what
The little bitty
yeah,
miniature people with oh, now I had a mind blank, but it's
you,
the little people that tied up the big guy.
I thought he was cussing there for a second. Don't be using words like that. I'm from Halton. We didn't talk like that. That gum. Anyway, but his point is they'll put something. The other move is that they put something in there. They put the pill in there that you won't vote for it. You'll vote
Right.
against it because of
Well,
that.
we see this all the time in legislation down in Baton Rouge, or we see it in legislation in D.C. They'll take a arguably a good bill or something positive, they pack it full of crap, and either that causes it to die because nobody wants to vote for the crap, or sometimes they get the crap ran through. So
Yeah. So, and so back to your side of the equation, Rex. Here's the other side of the equation. um, I know you're wanting to.
I couldn't stand it. I had to put the comment up. Thanks for taking the bait. Hey, good. He isn't wishy washy. He doesn't believe in them. I do go fishing all the time, hook, line, and sinker. We love you anyway. Hey, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So
does David
here's the other side of that. And you need to You need
Share
to
your
go to my
screen.
share screen.
All right. Let me see if I can adjust the screen here just a second here. Maybe make it a little larger. All right, and then from this point you can scroll up and down or zoom in if you need it, but that's I guess good enough.
Yeah. So what you're looking at here is an opinion. Um, you know, the AG at the time was Richard Ayub, and it was requested by former Bossier City Attorney Jimmy Hall in regards to a charter review commission, the last one that was held in April of 2000. And the first thing that I wanted to point out was in this deal, the Charter Review Commission had 18 months to conduct their charter review. Well, they made a mistake and they left something out. And they petitioned the AG, or they asked the AG an opinion if they could just reconvene the Charter Commission to fix the small little thing that they left out. And ultimately, the AG had the opinion and said, "Hey, no, you can't do that. The time has expired, the 18 months, from when you formed the Charter Review Commission. You'll have to do the whole process again, form uh, another Charter Review Commission, and bring the new amendments or whatever forward and put them on the ballot on another election for what you're wanting to change." Well, the the point is, and even in this opinion, the he acknowledges the methods of amending the charter, and he talks about that the Bossier City Charter has the two methods for amending the charter, one being a charter review commission, and two by petition of the public. And he goes on to point out in here that the Charter Review Commission is regulated by statute, 18 months, and the timeline for petition of the people is the only place. And if you see it right there in that paragraph, center of the screen, Rex, the language of the charter, however, is not specific as to when the council shall submit a charter amendment, except in the case of an amendment proposed by petition of the electors. In that case, the special election is to be called no less than 90 days nor more than 120 days after the receipt of the registrar's certificate of sufficiency of the petition, or on the next election date authorized by law.
Well, that's interesting. And as a matter of fact, Colonel Crockett says, "Damn, Duke, how did you ever find this?" Little digging, little researching.
Age and treachery. But the point here is this current city council, and again, I'm going to say this current city council and lawless. I mean, here's the thing. Why should they even acknowledge, that the charter says that you've got to put this to the vote of the people? They could care less. They already don't care what all of y'all think. They're looking for any and every way they can to disregard your opinion as it is. They don't care. They're already breaking the law per se. They ain't took a vote.
They have not done it. Well, okay, so let me switch screens and we'll kind of for just a second here. All right, so that brings us to the meeting tomorrow, which is at 3 p.m. Down there at what is it officially called? City Hall. I don't know. Our good friend David Jones can let everybody know in the comments exactly how to get there. As a matter of fact, David, I think you said you knew where the back door was, or the bathrooms or whatever. Anyway, we need everybody that can possibly go to that meeting tomorrow afternoon to show up. Even if you don't say anything, that's fine. Just the fact that you're in the seat staring at all the 5 stonewallers. That in itself makes a statement. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to act any differently, but it's showing up and butts in seats. So we don't ever really ask for too much from our viewers, but we're asking everybody that can go to show up. Now, full disclosure, I might be there, I might not. It depends on how my day goes tomorrow, and I generally like to make sure that I record the YouTube sessions because sometimes after their live is over, it doesn't post properly and it makes it a challenge for me to get it downloaded and all that. But we're asking everybody that possibly can to just show up. If you want to say something, fine, but if not, at least be a butt in a seat.
Yeah, well, back to that Attorney General's opinion. The point, Rex, the AG opinion that I was just reading to you, do you know what date that was released on?
Well, I don't know, but let's take a look. Is that 1992?
Nope, right there, center of screen, date
Sorry,
released.
date released. August 12th of 2003. August the 12th of 2003.
And the point Richard Ayu made was the fact that they held the charter commission, and it ended up being, and they years later, like I'm thinking it was a total of almost 3 years. I saw Jeff Sadow made a post about when it, way up in the comments earlier, about when exactly it was voted on. I don't know the specific date, but the point is it hadn't been voted on, and this opinion was August 12th, 2003. So my point is if they call a charter commission and they bait you all out there to say, hey, we're going to put your term limits in this petition, you know what? They probably are. I think they probably are going to do it, but they know, and they're telling you we're going to give you what you want, but they're also wagging the dog to you. They're not telling you the whole story, and the whole story is it's deception because they know they can drag this out. They know just what I read up to you earlier. There's no provision for a time that they have to put it on the ballot. It's open-ended. You know, a petition of the people, 90 to 120 days. But the charter commission, there's no time frame.
But they pretty much have all the time that they want to waste. So Ruth Pope Johnston says they give their reason for rejection is to prevent future litigation. Term limits are viewed positively by the general public, or at least I'm adding this in, but the majority of the vast majority of the public. So who's going to sue besides the city council that chooses to ignore the will of the people? Well, that's a good question. I'm wondering who is out there that's going to sue? We've already had Ryan Haygood said in the comments he's not exactly for term limits in most cases. He is with the city council. I don't think Haygood's going to sue. I don't think Gaddy's going to sue. I mean, he might. Who would sue if they enacted the term limits? Gosh, could it possibly be 4 people that are going to be ousted or ousted?
I'm just wondering how much is enough. How much of your self-recognized good government, how much is enough? I mean, I'm just wondering where a lot of these guys were when you had administrators in the city running over people and running people off and headhunting people. Where were y'all? Where were you? I mean, I don't remember seeing you. In fact, I even remember specifically, and if I look hard enough, I can find the document where matters of public concern were sent to the council, and they denied requests to speak on matters of public concern. What that means, folks, is things that endanger you, the public, and this council decided they didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to, they were unconcerned then. This isn't just something that happened today or yesterday. This is something that's been going on for years. But how much of that good government, how much is enough? What is enough for somebody to be in office? You know, till they physically have to be in a bed, you know, with a nurse by their side. Is that when we say enough's enough? I don't know.
Well, and look, I'll play devil's advocate again for a minute because there's always the argument, well, the next time that they run, you can always vote for somebody else and elect somebody else. And that is a valid point, but we all know how this goes. The incumbent, especially when it's somebody like, and I'm just going to pick on Montgomery, especially when it's somebody like Montgomery who has got his tentacles so far into the workings of other government entities, he is able to, he's done so many favors. I'm not even saying illegal. He's done so many favors for various people that it makes it difficult to run against somebody like that because A, he's got the name recognition, he's got the support of all the people that he's helped, and it just makes it a challenge. It's what we call the entrenched incumbent. And so it's not so easy as just running somebody against somebody else. Look, you look at Chris Smith versus, I'm having a mind blank.
Tim Larkin?
Tim Larkin, sorry. And I helped Tim with his campaign too. You look at Chris Smith versus Tim Larkin, that was actually a relatively close race. Chris almost didn't beat Larkin, and Chris was exceedingly popular. But Larkin had been in there so long, and look, Larkin's a nice guy. I've interacted with him several times and all that. He's a nice guy, but even with the popularity of Chris Smith, it was difficult for him to beat Tim. And so again, you have these entrenched incumbents, and it's not as easy as just, you can vote them out the next election. Not everybody is in tune or is as in tune with politics as you and I try to be, and as most of the people watching this show try to be. You have to remember, most people are going to work. They may see something in the news or on social media, but they don't pay close attention because they're worried about going to their job and then picking up their kids from school and, getting dinner ready and that sort of thing. They're not in the middle of politics all the time like we are.
Yeah. So, in essence, Rex, you started saying it earlier. What's the point if all these guys are just, they don't care and they're lawless. They don't care about what the public thinks, and they're just going through their motions, and they're calling this charter commission. They're going to try to tell you that they're doing your will through this charter commission. How long? Why is it taking these guys 20 years to do it again? Why is it taking them 20 years? Why all of a sudden? Why all of a sudden now are they so interested on fixing Bossier City government? What's happened or what's changed? And
gosh, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean they've only had 20 years to do it. Why are they just now getting around to doing it?
Well, could it be? I'm just going to throw it out there. You know me. Could it be possibly that these two guys started this amateur live show and started paying close attention to that kind of stuff and developed a pretty darn good following that we've got of dedicated people watching the show and people that are speaking out and good people like the Colonel Crockett that actually are attending the meetings and speaking up, and Wes Marriott, that are pretty much telling them how the cow ate the cabbage at the meetings to their face. Gosh. Could it be that?
That could be a factor, but I'm not taking credit for any of that because, look, it takes people watching, listening, understanding, soaking the information in, and then it also takes them, doing something. They can't just hear it if they don't, if they hear it
Don't
and
take action.
They don't take action by mentioning it or telling the story or sharing the information. It's all for naught. So it's not just us. It's folks.
Yeah, it's everybody.
They're buying in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there. Even if we get this even if we get this passed, let's just say let's just say that the council showed up tomorrow and they voted to adopt Tommy's resolution. They put it on the ballot and you got term limits. You know what? You're going to have people step up to the plate to run government, to get
Right.
involved. You got to
Right.
have folks willing to do it. This is just this ain't even the first step. This is the thought of taking the first step.
You are absolutely correct about that. That once the shots are fired, you have to be ready for the collateral damage, so to speak. And the collateral damage would be the removal of those same entrenched incumbents that we're talking about, or the possible removal of them. And that means that somebody else, it has to open, or it will open the door, but somebody else has to step through that door, or multiple people have to step through that door and say, hey, we're willing to serve, or we're willing to go through an election and a campaign to try to get in there to serve, much like Chris Smith, Cheatham did, as well as Brian Hammonds.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that some of these guys that have been there, they don't care about Bossier City, they don't love Bossier City, and they're not committed to Bossier City. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that there's a whole lot of other people that care just as much, and give them a chance. Get out of the way. You can't do it all. Get out of the way and give somebody else a chance. I mean, what are you going to do? You going to steer it for 100 years and control it for 100 years? I mean, good grief.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to show, as we kind of start getting ready to wrap it up, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do tomorrow night, or whatever for the rest of this week. But I want to show, let me see if I can zoom that in a little bit more. This is Tommy's part of the agenda. He's got one for adopting a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of Bossier, state of Louisiana, to vote upon the adoption of amendments to the current city charter, the city of Bossier City making application for the state bond commission, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Yeah, the thing is, while the 30 days has expired, for the council to vote on the issue, it's not too late for them to send it to the ballot. I mean, in fact, the charter says that they've got to send it to the ballot. And here's the thing, Rex, what is the consequence for an elected official that doesn't uphold their oath of office?
Well, they can't necessarily just get out of it. There's no qualified immunity, so to speak, for it. And I think it can be elevated up to a criminal offense, right?
Well, I'm just wondering if let's say, Queen David and Bubba and all them say, you know what, screw all the peasants out there. We just won't even do nothing. The heck with it. We just won't
Well,
do nothing.
they could.
So they're just going to ignore the charter.
Well, I guess they could, but then they might better worry about whether they can be indemnified or not. Let me switch screens over here. So we have this document from the Legislative Auditor's Office called Indemnification of State and Local Public Officials and Employees. And if you read through this, we'll post this on Bossier Watch, so you can read the fine print if you want to after the show or whatever. But it goes through and talks about what is indemnification, and can a public official, either state or local, be held personally liable for actions taken within the course and scope of employment. That sounds kind of interesting.
That sounds amazingly interesting. Maybe a lot of people ain't been thinking the right way on this thing. Maybe people have been thinking that things were going another direction.
Yeah, maybe they think they won't be responsible for their action or inaction. But question number 16 of this document, it says, are local government officers or employees covered individuals under the Act? And the answer is, most local government officers and employees are not covered under the Act. So that means that they could have a little personal liability if they fail to act.
Well, I don't know on that one. We'll have to figure that one out. But here's the thing. Either way, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. They want to stick a thumb in the public's eye. They don't care what you and I and all of us think. They could care less. They don't. If they did, they would just put. If they cared, they would just put it on the ballot and let the public vote on it and let the chips fall how they fall. But they know how it would fall. It's not in their self interest, so they're not going to do that. But you know, folks need to be standing in front of them, you know, tomorrow at the council meeting, and I'm going to go. I'm going to sit there so that they can see me standing there, and you know, they're going to have to look me in the eye. They know the truth. I know the truth that you know they're looking out after their own self-interest. They can say they're doing the bidding for the public, they're doing the bidding for the people, they're up there to serve the public or whatever. No, they're not. And I just want to stand right there in front of them. Even though if I wanted to speak, they would cut they would cut my speech off. They wouldn't allow me to say what I wanted to say. Know that up front. You know, that another part of their lawlessness. You know, people they need to see your face. They need
Yeah.
to see it because they don't want you to come. They don't want you to be there. They want you to just stay hid. That makes it easier for them to do what they want to do.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I'm going to do my darndest to actually go. Now, let's discuss tomorrow night because tomorrow night is Tuesday, which is our regularly scheduled Bossier Watch. So here's the truth. I kind of double booked. Well, not really double booked. We have a high school fishing league meeting that's scheduled tomorrow, and it's at 6:30. Well, there's no way I can make that meeting, which I need to go to, and be back in time, obviously, to do Bossier Watch. So we kicked around the idea of doing Bossier Watch at 8 or 8:30, but honestly, my meeting may run long. And I think what we're probably going to have to do this week, since we did a special Bossier Watch tonight, is skip tomorrow night for Bossier Watch. And maybe if we get through analyzing the meeting from tomorrow and want to do a special show Thursday, we'll, let everybody know. If not, we may just wait until next Tuesday and kind of analyze the meeting itself. What do you think, Mr. Lowry?
Sound like a plan to me.
Yeah, because we're at, we didn't have a whole lot to talk about except this specific stuff, so we're only at an hour and 10 minutes. That's kind of a quick show for us, but I'm worried if I say we'll start at 8 or 8:30, that meeting will run long and then everybody will be, torches and pitchforks to the house and trying to, burn the house down. And, we didn't get much rain, so that wouldn't be a good idea these days.
Yep. So look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. Hey, phone a friend if you're going to come. Bring somebody with you. Let's make them have to, see an audience of folks. And it only if nobody shows up, then hey, they win.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way: about a 90% chance I'm going to be at the meeting. I've got some appointments in the morning, but I should get done with them. Doing some tech work and all that. So I'm pretty confident that I'll be there. You've already committed to go. We know probably Colonel Crockett will be there, as well as I'm pretty sure hopefully Wes will be there and lots of other folks. So let's look forward to seeing everybody at the meeting.
All right, folks. Appreciate y'all on a Monday night, short notice. 70 folks, not bad.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all listening and everything that everybody does to help us out. Quick deal, of course, y'all pretty much know it. If you got some stuff you want to send to us, bossierwatch@protonmail.com. Make your own Proton Mail account. No identifying information in it if you want to keep it anonymous and send it over to us. We do take a look at all that. Had an interesting suggestion today by Proton Mail that I actually do some tech classes on using Proton Mail. I don't think we'll incorporate that in the show, but I might do a standalone video that we'll post up there or something like that. So we get some very interesting things that come through that Proton mail sometimes, not just, whistleblower type stuff. But anyway, Cindy Ulrich says, come back Thursday. Don't make us wait another week. We'll see, Cindy. It's kind of one of those weeks where the scheduling is just going haywire this week. So we may be back Thursday. We may not. Might be next Tuesday, but we'll let everybody know.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you all.
All right. Appreciate everybody watching. See you later, Mr. Lowry.
Good night.